Hey there, guys. Welcome back to the Keys Bartender Show. This is Jim the Keys Bartender. It is episode 360. And today was the day I got my COVID test for my surgery on Monday. And it's easy to get wrapped up into a mindset. And this person, me I'm talking about, can a while you just get wound up. You think it's all about you. So when I go in and they're not, not everyone, this is a new thing here with the COVID test and having to deal with surgeries. And if people don't seem to have their act together, I take it personally. And I guess I was thinking, since I had all these different dates, that I was unique. But I'm sure there's other people out there that had to do that, and I realize other people are going to deal with the other things, and there's people without access to health care are all around the world that just don't get things treated. They just go on with their lives until their lives end, taking care of things or not taking care of things. But a lot of times in most of the world, there's not the ease of access to healthcare and healthcare procedures and access to the expertise of a specialist. And I'm in a part, I'm in a part of the United States. I'm living at a time in history where obviously we're at the most advanced stage of medical arts, communication, diagnostic, treatment, and all that. And it's easy to get wrapped up in the thinking that, this is happening to you and you're not being taken care of. And it's, this Christmas season, Christmas is about giving. And it's easy for someone to get a little selfish, I guess, about things. And not think about what each person in this step, like even people you're dealing with, the healthcare providers, I can't imagine. I'm in a smaller community, so they're not dealing with it as much, but they're under stress too. And I realize that a lot of ICU nurses are dealing with, and doctors and medical staff and housekeeping and all that stuff, they're dealing with a whole different set of things to be concerned about. They have the stress at the work, and then they have stress at home, right? Because they're working in a highly infectious environment in a hospital with a lot of people that are infected. So I went for a test today and wasn't ready. I was told to come in the morning, but I guess the person I was talking to didn't know they didn't start till 10, so I go out and take care of some things, and I'm considering, I'm thinking, oh wow, they don't really know how to treat people, blah 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 blah. I'm thinking in my head, I'm doing this thought process, and then after a while I'm thinking, wait a second, wherever I went, if I go to the store to get some of the supplies I need, whenever I'm dealing with someone who's a healthcare provider who's dealing with me on the phone, I don't realize they're dealing with another maybe 40 or 50 people on that day on getting ready. I mean, my surgical date and time was Monday, December 28th at 4:30. And then yesterday I got a call from a very nice lady. She seemed kind of hurried, but that's because they're coming up on the holidays. She has to call people and get them ready because there's going to be she's got to get 2 days of work, or 1 or 2 days of work done in the time span she normally gets 1 day done. I mean, normally she has to get 2 or 3 days worth of work in 1 day. So she had to contact people, the pre-op nurse, and she was telling me all the procedures, and I've been through it already, and there's a couple new things about it, I have to really think about being sanitized before this surgery, that I have to have clean sheets. Now it's funny, I get from each person, I get additional layers. I don't get one. The way I try to consider it, when someone tells me don't wear this, don't wear this, don't make sure you don't put any lotions, don't put any deodorant. The last 2 showers you take, you want to use this surgical cleanse called Hybie Cleanse or whatever the generic equivalent is, and use it below the neck. Don't put any products in your hair. Just wash your hair really good, stuff like that, and make sure you take off all your jewelry, do all this stuff. Don't eat anything after 12 midnight. Don't drink anything at all, even water, after midnight. So I'll do all that. I'll try to get hydrated and things like that, and I'll follow. But sometimes you'll go to someone who I got the COVID test today. It was the person I got the COVID test from today. Her name was Robin. And I was going to my local hospital, not where I'm having the surgery, and I looked down the aisle, and there she is, suited up with the mask and the shield and the gloves and the surgical robe and all that stuff, and she's waving me down. And then I recognized who she was, and she was very sweet, very, very nice, and handled it well. And and she tickled my frontal lobe with that Q-tip for 8 to 10 seconds, which it's not, after doing it a couple times, it's really not that bad. You're just not used to it. When you go, no one's used to having, most people aren't used to having things shoved up all the way up their nose. So unfortunately, this one. Then when I was going in earlier, when I was going into the hospital, there was a gentleman who works at the cardio rehab next to the gym that I work at the hospital. The cardio rehab is actually inside the gym, and they have their own section with a curtain where they do the cardio rehab, and they have their own equipment there. His name's Joel. Really great guy. He's I don't know what his technicians, if he's a physician's assistant or a nurse or whatever, but he's always, or doctor, but he's working the front, the entry of the main hospital. I guess they rotate it depending on how busy they are, and admissions. And Joel was there, and he was great. Every time I see the guy's a joy to be with, giving me information and stuff like that. Every time I do my spin class, most of the time I do my spin, he comes out and says hi, and we talk about things. We were talking about this. They do now, every 3 months, they require a retraining for CPR, life-saving technique. And I think it's great. They got the CPR dummies. They got an adult and a baby, and you have to provide, it's called high-quality CPR. Just the amount of, you doing it 4 times a year with this automated thing makes sense because you're always doing it. So when it becomes, after doing it, I've been trained doing it 10 times, but if I do it every 3 months, it should be second nature. And it gives you a grade on how you do it. So he was telling me how to do that, but he was handling admissions, and we're talking to him. And then I saw one of the nurses when I went on the floor to get the test. Before I saw Robin, I saw her when I was leaving. Beverly, saw another nurse, Gabby. I know another one, Jen, who is there. Jenny, she's working at the hospital. It's a small community here in the Upper Keys, and I've been working at that hospital almost 7 years, and everyone from the CEO down to the housekeepers know me, and people in the cafeteria. Not so much the ER. The ER, you don't run into a lot of people there, but a friend of mine's a doctor there, and he's really helped me out. But I have to remember, whenever I'm dealing with things myself, whenever you need something done or I need something done, I shouldn't talk about you, I should talk about me. I have a tendency to start taking away that empathy I naturally feel for people, and I start getting selfish. And I have to remember it's not all about me. Now, my primary goal right now is to have that surgery done, because I want to get that tumor taken out, because the doctor said it could become malignant if it's not. And all the doctors said that. The longer it goes, the worse it gets. So that's the thing that got stuck in my head. So it's funny, whenever they talk about a narcissistic personality, you start thinking, whenever you see those tests, it used to be in the magazines, now they're online. See if you're this. What are you on the Myers-Briggs test? Are you selfish individual? Are you egotistical? Are you a narcissist? Are you a sociopath? Are you a psychopath? All those things. And you say, well, I show. It's, are you an alcoholic? Are you obsessive compulsive? And you take those tests, they're almost self-determining, meaning you automatically see that. It's a lot like astrology, right? When you see a horoscope, you're going to see, they're going to give you a description of what an Aquarius is. You're Aquarius or a Gemini or something. Oh, I'm like that, I'm like that, I'm like that. It's really general. So the real test they give you, it's your behavior, it's how you behave. I realize a narcissist, if you're always doing things, if you're not, after you perform, if you have any remorse, do you have remorse for whenever you do anything that doesn't meet your expectations for a person's behavior? And it's easy when you're tired and you're under stress and you're busy that you think that way. And I see it at the bar. And I have to realize that some people aren't always at their best. It's not because they're always that way. And I mentioned on a previous episode that one of our patrons yelled at two patrons that came in. He thought they were taking their mask off too early before they sat down as they was walking by. And he was quite vociferous or loud about telling them to put the mask on. And the guys that were coming in obviously were having a good day, and they still were having a good day because they handled the verbal assault, I have to say, and they were good natured about it. And they took it in stride. The person that did it had to realize that maybe they're under stress. And we can forgive those behaviors. There's a lot of people right now that way. We have this. We have the holidays. Because of COVID-19, we had an economic downturn. A lot of people are hurting financially. They're hurting spiritually, and because they haven't been able to do a lot of the things they've wanted to do, maybe visit family members. There's been a lot of political division, and just as much in the Keys as it is anywhere else in the United States and around the world. The way social media has been weaponized by different groups, and aggrieved parties going to the extreme, and we see extremists on both sides, and we have a tendency to label people that disagree with us in an egregious way. When they're, it's really a sliding scale if you think about it, where they've had people that voted for Obama, voted for Trump. Think about that. People that have voted for Barack Obama, voted for Trump. And there are white supremacists and right-wing extremists, Nazis and militia members that are filled with hate, hope. They're always looking for a violent confrontation. And I'm sure there's people on the left, not as well organized as that, but there's people like that too. And we tend to identify everyone that supports the opposition as that. And there's a little stress with what, some people aren't accepting what the outcome of the election was. And I don't understand that. Because after I was an ardent supporter of Hillary Clinton. I know a lot of you hate her for some reason. There was, the Clinton hate machine was out there. They hated because, Clinton lied about a blowjob. Who doesn't lie about infidelity? Infidelity, if they're lying to their spouse, they're going to lie to everyone else. But it is common. And infidelity is not high treason. But some people just attribute a lot of bad things and machinations to the Clintons. I understand they feel that way. I don't understand the validity, how they see it as valid. But I was an ardent supporter of Hillary Clinton in 2016. And when she lost the election, the next day, I accepted it. And I didn't feel really good about it because something else really happened, horrible, the same day, really as horrible as things happened. We lost a very close member of our family, had died, that we found out that night when the results were coming in. So it was doubly that way, but we had accepted it. We didn't think that it was going to be overturned or anything like that. We knew that on an inauguration day, who was going to be president for 4 years. Now, I didn't think he'd make it 4 years, but he did, and he's trying to extend that. But the point is, there's hard feelings, and people have a hard time really accepting it. It's a lot of division this year. It really is. But there's people, I know there's people that care about me and my family very much. And they'll say the sweetest things to me, about my family and stuff like that. But they'll talk about people that feel the same exact way I feel politically. They'll say some horrible things. And they're in denial. It's like having a family member over and they're a Satanist, and you love the Satanist, and you're an avid churchgoer, and you still love the person. The person is a Satanist. Other than they're a good person. They bring over a nice side dish. They're very polite. Their conversation great, but they choose to worship Satan, right? And they'll have them at the family party and stuff like that. I know there are some people that belong to families that have that. They're different religions. We have there's people that have Palestinians, and Muslim Palestinians, and Jewish Israelis. Not all Israelis are Jewish. Some are Palestinian, some are Christian. So, and they're in the same family, and they get along. So, and I know some people that are topically very, 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 they use the language, very racist thing, and I've seen them talk to friends of mine who are black and not display that kind of hatred on a personal level. I don't really get that. So, for this Christmas, at least, for this Christmas season, it would be nice if people could be a little more thoughtful to each other and a little more considerate about what our common goals are, right? And it comes to mind with this when I was thinking about being selfish. I say my common goal is to be healthy in the new year, to keep my family healthy so I can keep my family healthy and support them economically, keep food, shelter, protect them, keep them safe. And that's the same goal almost all of us have. All of us have. Now, if you don't have the goal of protecting your family and keeping shelter and all those things, that's your primary goal. But having the secondary goals are the things you think that are important to maintaining that, like who's president, or this even third tier. The secondary goal is your family, your extended family and your friends. Making sure they're, you got to take care of your immediate family, and they got to take care of the rest, and then you go outward from there. And it's people's circle of interest or empathy. How far does it go out? Your circle of empathy. Is it just if you're a survivalist? Let's say you're a narcissist, extreme narcissist, right? That's just yourself, right? That's just yourself. Now, you can extend that to your immediate family and friends if you're extreme narcissist, if you think they are integral to your health and safety too. So, the extension of that. And then other people, there's extreme narcissists, I think, they pretend that they care about people outside, but really they care about you as long as you care about them. Okay. Then you got the everyday person. The everyday person and regular person, let's say right in the middle, because it's a sliding scale. There's narcissists on one end, and then you have the saints, like the Mother Teresa's, the people that just give everything, the Desmond Tutus, and all these people that just give their all to help people as much as they can. I mean, obviously, you could put the ideal, the non-Republican Christian up there. I have to say non-Republican, because Republican Jesus doesn't want to help. Republican Jesus doesn't help immigrants. Doesn't think people shouldn't have a right to health care or public education, or right to shelter. Republican Jesus doesn't say it. Republican Jesus says you have to pull yourself by your own bootstraps as you talk to a group of people that are probably on the dole and food stamps in the Deep South, so you got the regular person that thinks, well, I got to take care of my family, I got my friends, I care about my family, and then they start getting into the political thing. And they say, well, the people identify with the people. You got to have your guns. If you don't have my guns, they can't, the Second Amendment right, you got to have the guns. Or if you're an extremist on the left, you got to have your freedom. I got to be able to do whatever I want, whenever I want. That's more libertarian. But people say, well, everything should be shared. That's extreme communist. Right? I dispute people that say socialist. But then they only identify with people with the same political outlooks. Right? And they got to be in their country. They got to have the same political outlooks, and they got to be an American. Right? Or be supportive of your goals, right? Then you got people that are empathetic, further out there, that are more empathetic, and they go, well, their whole circle they care about is people that everybody that needs, that has less of either freedom, political freedom, healthcare, shelter, food, safety, physical safety. There's people that are living in regions where they have militias running around and stuff like that, which in the United States they're running around. Right in Oregon, there's a right-wing terrorist group. I'm going to call them a terrorist group. You shouldn't call them militias anymore. Once you attack a state capital and start, much like Antifa was just doing it to private property, which is bad. Antifa is more of an idea than an organization. They were attacking stores and private property. What the right-wing militia groups, they were attacking the seat of government in Salem, Oregon, the state capital. And the police, they were attacking the police. So they're actually, they're so far right, these people are so far right, they're against the Blue Lives Matter thing. It shouldn't be blue lives, everybody's lives matter. All lives matter, black lives matter. But you got to show a modicum of respect. I mean, the reason they had the Black Lives Matter is because they felt that black people weren't given the same weight of value by the police. So they were trying to bring them up. They're trying to bring up black lives to the level of all lives matter. Yes, all lives matter, but there are people that different groups of people don't feel that way, and that's the reason why they had to focus on the Black Lives Matter thing, because they didn't feel like, with with certain police organizations, there was less value on them. So I'm talking about the circle of empathy going out. And the circle of empathy extends to your country. Then it goes out to the world, to people. And that's when you see the commercials. We see malnourished children. Children that need medical care. You see the SPCA. Animals. The circle of empathy goes out. Now, there are people that care about animals but don't care about people. You really got to get your priorities straight. You should care about, I understand. I care about animals. I don't want an animal to starve, and I believe SPCA does a good job. But if you care about animals and you don't care about people, why are you surprised that there's people that care about people and don't care about animals? See, that's the circle of empathy. It's a possibility that you can care about. It's all right to care about a dog and a person, and they don't have to be an American. I've had people come into the bar on regular occasion and say, when there's charity to go around, they say, well, we got to do it here. We got to do it here. And you go, well, yes, we're supposedly the wealthiest country in the world, and we have the resources to take care of all of our citizens, but we choose not to within our borders. We choose not to make it a priority. We choose not to make healthcare accessible to all people. That's a choice, because they believe that that's a choice they made. And it's also a choice they say, but corporations are people. So corporations have rights, but not all people have rights. Right? No, they don't have. Corporations have right to, a right to hear their voices in the election. So that means a corporation can spend a limited amount of money supporting a candidate that supports their agenda. So think of that empathy going out. If you're putting up a Christmas tree, and if you're just doing, let's say, if you're just doing a generic Christmas tree, and you say, well, it's not a religious symbol, fine. You're just doing it tradition and stuff like that. You can do everything that you want. You can be selfish. You don't have to do anything. But if you're pretending to be a follower of Jesus, pretending to be a follower of Jesus, because if you do any hate speech, within if it's allowed inside your system, if a hate speech is allowed inside your Christian belief system, then there's a flaw there. There's a flaw. If you exclude people, if you exclude immigrants, because we know that there's whole sections of the Gospels that tell you what Jesus thinks about immigrants and people that weren't born in Bethlehem, right? I mean, the Good Samaritan was a major parable in the Christian belief system. And if you examine that, you realize it's the content of character, not where someone is from, right? And even then, no one is irredeemable, right? And there's instances where Jesus accepts people who don't necessarily believe what he believes, but that there is a place for people, good people that don't believe the same thing you do, right? and you should care, and he suggests you should care about everyone, care about the children and all that stuff. I know I know the big thing coming up with this is abortion. Okay. Abortion. It's going to be a difficult question for years to come. It's around. The genie's out of the bottle. It happens. You're not going to stop it. What you're doing is you're going to stop. You might be able to prevent legal ones. You might prevent legal ones. But what you're going to do is create a whole... Think about prohibition on alcohol, the prohibition in drugs. The reason why marijuana is finding acceptance in a lot of states, and eventually it looks like in the next year or two it'll be federally be moved off the schedule of illegal substances, is that they realize that they, for several reasons. First, the logical one, people say, well, don't treat marijuana like abortion because obviously no one's really getting hurt with marijuana. Well, the reason they prohibited it is they thought people were getting hurt. The belief was it was a gateway drug and all these things. But what it did when they made it prohibited, just like they did with the prohibition with in 1919, when they passed the prohibition against alcohol, that a whole underground economy started. And it was a criminal organization. Same thing happened with marijuana and other drugs. So I figure if you take that out, reduce the resources that we use to incarcerate people and investigate people for that, and use it against things like abuse, drug abuse, use it against violence, property crimes, and things like that, we can redirect our resources there, and it makes a lot more sense, and we also can derive some revenue for the more benign items like marijuana. So prohibit something that is going to be done anyway, and there'll be a black market. And that's what the gun thing is right now. Like you can buy in the United States, you could buy an automatic weapon. Not legally, but you could buy it because it's illegal. But you could buy an automatic weapon in Australia, even though it's illegal. It's illegal. Almost a lot of guns are illegal. You can buy in Europe and things like that. It's just underground. It makes it easier to trace, and you just don't see as many people running around with them. Here in the United States, that's going to be an issue for years to come too, because of the way people view their needs. Okay, let's get back to that empathy thing. So, if you're a Christian and then you're throwing out the N-word or using a derogatory meaning for a Jew or a Muslim, you are definitely missing the mark. Now, I know there are religious leaders out there that hold their nose for it. They do that for money. I want to do the podcast for money, but if someone has a message and they were going to give me money for it, a message I did not agree with, I would not accept their money. That's just the way it is. Now, people say, Jim, I'm sure you had a boss that didn't agree with you on all things. You accepted their money. Well, I wasn't promoting their ideas. I wasn't promoting their ideas, firstly. And secondly, most of the times I really didn't know, almost all the times, my employer's political beliefs. Now, so that's just the way it is. So I find right now that Christmas, if you're not using Christmas to be fully inclusive, you're not doing Christmas. And this bullshit war on Christmas, especially on some of these supposed news stations that say these horrible messages about groups of people. I mean, during Christmas, even love thine enemy. Love thine. There's no love. There is no love. It's hate. And there's some people in there suggesting You come in to run into some people, they're going to have to, a religious leader suggested that it would be all right to execute homosexuals. Really? Is it all right in your religious belief? Are they not a protected group of people? Do you think you don't have somebody in your family who isn't gay? If you have a family of 50 people, let me tell you something. Whether you know it or not, inside your circle of 50 people, randomly take 50 people unless you've got a very select group of people, but randomly select 50 people, you're going to have more than a couple gay people in there. And take 50 of your friends. Now, they're not all out. Look at Lindsey Graham. Come on. He's gay. It's one of the most... He hasn't been outed yet. But eventually, by the time he dates, there's going to be a diary. They're going to find there's going to be some ex-lovers out there and things like that, and you're just going to see that. In the end, it's a hateful thing. It's like one of those people. If you're like a product of a mixed race family, and then you end up being a white supremacist because you came out looking light. Oh, that's tantamount to the same thing. And the same thing of being a Christian and having hate in your heart. Having hate in your heart. And I'm telling you, one thing, if you want Christianity to be I have a recipe right now. If you want this to be a Christian nation, act like a Christian nation. If you really pretended to act like a Christian nation, to care for everyone, and then, oh my God, you would see the biggest fucking Christmas celebrations. You'd be converting, you'd be converting people at a clip of maybe 1% a year. That doesn't sound incredible, but that'd be 3 million people. And inside 100 years, you'd be exporting Christianity. You say, listen, those American Christians really know how to do it. They care about people. They don't ask the questions. They don't call people, the people that are able to work hard. The people that are lean aren't greedy. The religious leaders don't fly around in private jets and explain it as they need to in order to spread the gospel. I need a private aircraft in order to spread the word of God. Oh, you need a private aircraft where I can get it right on the internet. The word of God, if you want, is available to anybody with internet access. So, if you got rid of that private aircraft, you could probably give 200,000 people internet access to Christian-only content. And if you're able to do that without denigrating, say, like the Westboro Baptist Church where they did the God Hate Fags people in Florida, if you're able to stop doing shit like that and start making sure that instead of going to soldiers' funerals and protesting about gay people and stuff like that, and maybe just giving things like the Shriners do, start being charitable, true Christian charity, and not use it, and kick out the people, the bogus people. What you got to do is you got to expel them. If you really wanted to create a really great movement, kick out all those hypocrites. Get rid of them. Get rid of all the hypocrites. Don't worry about saying fuck, balls, dick, pussy, all those things. That's not the thing that God gets upset about. God does not get upset about it. He gets upset when you, let's say, you go to in Baghdad and you have some military contractors decide to kill women and children indiscriminately, right? If they feel a couple of gunshots and then you start firing, killing a shitload of people, going in another country because we have an interest in that country, you start killing them, let's say the Blackwater guys, and start killing indiscriminately, and then bringing them over here, having the trial, convicting them, and deciding to pardon them during Christmas. You're pardoning people. Well, they were over in Iraq, and they're contractors. They were doing it for America. Oh, you were killing women and children. Well, it's all right. They were Muslim. You don't believe they're going to go to heaven anyway. That's the problem. The hypocrisy there. You can't support torture. You got to be against torture. Number one. You got to be against the death penalty because it's incongruent to be pro-life and pro-death penalty. Whoa, that person's a scumbag. Well, what if we knew that person was going to scumbag when they were in the belly? Do we going to have to wait 40 years to execute him? Well, the mother was poor and they were on welfare and stuff like that, and they ended up being a mass murderer, and they deserve to be murdered now. Oh, now. So all human life matters until you do something wrong, and then you go. But that's an innocent child. But if you're Christian, wait, you're not an innocent child. You're stained by the original sin, aren't you? Of Adam and Eve. So they're not innocent until they're baptized, aren't they? Because they're every child. If Christians are supporting it, almost every child is stained by original sin. So, I, on the other hand, say everybody is worthy of being saved. And we could just turn this Christian train around and make it more like the way you'd expect it to be. Come on, you know it. You know it's not supposed to. I'm sorry to get religious and stuff like that. That's the reason why I have a very hard time with it. I have a problem with the theology, not the spirituality. I have a problem with the theology of it. The messaging is bad in a lot of groups. And yes, I was brought up Roman Catholic, and they have a very strange pomp and circuit traditions and stuff like that, just like that. But the true message came through for me. I get it. I get that message, but not everyone does. So I know I may not get a lot of listeners for this, but I do appreciate you for listening, and please share this with friends of like mind. This is, I guess, kind of like a Christmas message. And I'll talk to you later. This is Jim the Keys Bartender. Thank you for listening, and I'll come to you tomorrow. Bye.